Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, back with another Malifaux video, this time painting the Stitched Together from the Neverborn faction, Terran Khaki 09122. This one's about empty, but I've got a close substitute on hand. Well, forget close, this is empty. So, that being the case, Banshee Brown, this is another Warpaints color. So, the Stitched Together are clearly based off of Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas, and even have at least in 2nd edition, a gambling related mechanic to them. Where they can do insane damage, but risk taking that same damage themselves if they end up losing the gamble. I can use a fairly large brush for this. But unlike the character they are inspired by, while Oogie Boogie was full of bugs, the Stitched Together are full of the viscera of their victims and constantly seek new victims to fill themselves up with, lest they lose their forms, essentially becoming sacks of rotted meat. So there is going to be a bit of gore on here, just brace yourself. And again, I have not seen much in the way of 3rd edition yet, because of the popularity and the complete sellout of the first printing. I'll still keep my eyes open for the rule books and cards and all that, so I don't have a clue what these guys do in the current edition. Going for a nice solid coat, trying to keep the black covered up. That's not bad, so apply that to the other two and move on when it's dry. Well, I used too much water on the first coat, so that's still drying, but I can do this part. Tanned Skin 09044. And outside of this model being the most obviously inspired by Oogie Boogie, this also has, I would say, the most gore on it, with a full arm hanging out. So, just gonna go in there and do that. Okay. And now I really do have to wait for all of this to dry out before I move on. I'll be back as soon as I can. Okay, that base coat's finally dry enough to move on. So, Old Bronze 09197. Now, not only giving this one a creepy bronze lamp, but let's just go ahead and finish this part first. But these rings holding them together on the back. Popped seam looks like. And then this one has buttons. Detail on what the others have. He doesn't have any bronze. So, Chaotic Red. Just another army painter. Paints color. dropped hundreds of frames there. That bites. Getting the viscera spilling out. And that is a skull peeking out through his elbow, and a spine coming out through his back butt. Well, someone else's. But this is a jumble of body parts inside, and they don't obviously clean them beforehand. So, get those effects on the others and move on a bit. Next up, Tarnished Steel 09206, which is about empty. Don't need much, but this might be the last time I end up using this particular color. I need to find a substitute. This is just going on the hooks, which I am going to deliberately leave shiny. And apply to the other two, and hit the last base coat. Alright, last base coat. If I can find it. There we go. Shield Brown 09161. So I deliberately did the little lump here on his base as a bit of unidentifiable gore, just so I could keep the peg legs detached from the base. And we're going to get those first as little literal stumps going out. And avoiding the mound of mystery meat. Just filling in the rest. This is again a hand sculpted base insert I've done. Kind of basing it off where I would expect this character to be encountered, and in this case I picture a creepy rundown mansion or theater. And apply that to the rest, and once everything's dried up I can, well, I somehow managed to get it on his gut there, but that'll be fine. I'll come out when I shade. So apply the rest back in a bit. Alright, some of this is still drying, but certain areas are dry enough I can move on. Tanned Shadow 09043, I'll start with the arm here. So when shading you're going to use usually 1 part water to 1 part paint. On darker colors like straight black or dark blues and violets, you might need to go 2 to 3 parts water per 1 part paint. But we're just going to go over the base coat, let that flow all around it. Then when I get the viscera, if some of that gets on there, it should be okay, because, again, essentially stuck in a sack of gore. Blackened Steel 09205. This will go on the hooks. So, in order of painting, when base coating, you want to go with the lowest area on the model to the highest, shading highest to lowest, highlighting lowest to highest. Generally speaking, each model is going to have its own, we'll say, challenges, and right there is one of them, so it's going to clear that excess out of the hook. Otherwise it could, not always, but sometimes could end up leaving a film just in between there, and don't want that. Alright, apply this to the other two and move on when it's dry. Okay, up next, Aged Pewter 09196. Not too much of this, just a lantern, a couple of rings on here, and some buttons on another one. Yeah, that is flowing into the gore here, but that'll come out when I do the shading on that. Due to this row being a darker color, so I'm just going to get a nice throw coverage over there, and there we go. Get the buttons on the other one to move on a little bit. Okay. Red Brick 09001. This is going well, and we have a few colors left to shade. Still having some of these focus issues I've been having, but they're not as bad as they used to be since I've upgraded things. However, something I'm still being mindful of, still trying to figure out how to prevent entirely if I can. Dabbing on right over there. This. Whoop. Okay. Apply to the rest and move on. Alright, some of that took a lot longer to dry than expected, but Khaki Shadow 09121. I think I've got enough in this to do the job. Oh yeah, I got plenty in here to do what I need to do. Some of that Army Painter base coat still looks a little shiny and plain wetness, but we'll just see. Being really careful around the rip in the abdomen where his victims are spilling out. Well, to be fair, don't know gender, but picking a random pronoun. So, getting rid of those bubbles. You don't want those will stick. Loosen up on the back side. I need to slow down. That's what's causing those bubbles to form. Okay. One more right there. And some of that got into the viscera, so I'll just kind of blot that out with the brush. Just a couple of spots there. And apply to the other two and move on when it's dry. Alright. A lot of that is still drying, but I can set up the one lighting effect these models will have. This is the second take I'm doing on this. My computer started dropping hundreds of frames a second before I could even pick up my brush, so matte white, Starry Painter one, and I'm just gonna dab this over the lantern. Just kind of like that. And hopefully this will dry before too long and I can wrap things up on the shading and lighting. And focus is a problem, slow boy. And now a lighting effect, lemon yellow 09009. So, like shading with particularly dark colors, when doing any lighting effect, you need to thin it out a little more than usual. So I'm going to be using probably 2 parts water to 1 part paint here. Last time I did this in the last video for the Necropunks, I went a little too far, and there was more water than pigment. I'll spread that around over the lantern. There we go. Then Pure Black 09037. I'm doing this now, so this is all dried up by the time I get to the highlights. And filling in the eyes, they're just going to have eyes and mouth, just it's going to be these black, empty voids on all the models. It's got a little too much water in it. And now for the last shade, Woodstain Brown 09160. Going on the little pegs on this particular model. And around the base. It's getting a nice even coat over it and letting it just flow into all the cracks. Okay. Apply that to the other two, and then when it's all dry, I can highlight and wrap up. Alright, highlighting now. Khaki highlight 09123. Alright. Using a dry brushing technique here. So, literally taking a brush that is dry, you want something ragged and feathered like this, something you've probably used for a while. Straight paint, no water. Rub out the excess on a paper towel. Make it look like there's nothing left. And then lightly dust the area to be affected, going against any contours or ridges, raised areas. This will catch the paint on the highest areas of the model and leave the underlying color untouched for the most part. That is too much right there. The key here is kind of, there's a balance between subtlety. Go too far on subtlety, you can't see the highlight, but if you don't go subtle enough, it'll just kind of look funny. Okay, apply that to the other two and move on with that. Next, Blood Red 09003. And if this hits the cloth a bit, that's fine. Let's go ahead and apply this to the other one with its showing since it's so little. Place skull on the elbow, plate backbone sticking out. Tarnished Brass 09198. Gonna be doing a few quick ones here. And I'm switching my brushes pretty freely because I have several that are suitable for this. Use a little more straight paint on the lantern. goes disc. This one's got his buttons. But I did forget about his gore effect, so just if I can get a grip on a brush, take care of that right quick. Standing in an ambiguous lump of floor meat. And let's do True Silver 09207. Get some hooks. And tanned highlight 09045. Let's see here. And last highlight. I'm going to do it on this one. It'll be Driftwood Brown 09162. If I can get a grip on the brush I want to use anyway. These little peg legs. And lightly dusting across the base. Okay, apply that to the others and give it a minute to dry. And to last step, switching to a flathead brush and pure black 09037. Which is pure black. And just lining the edge of the base, giving it a nice finish, avoiding the custom sculpting I've done here on the base. Flathead brush is best suited to larger areas, surface areas like this. And there we go. Apply to the rest, and then when it's dry, I can do the last step and wrap up. Alright, last step, matte white. This is one of the Army Painter colors. And this is just numbering the backs of the bases for my convenience. So that in an actual game, I just need to write this on the sleeve over the card, and it makes it much easier to track. So Roman numeral 1, these are easy to paint. And 2. And 3. Brush might be a little thick for it, but it works. And that's it. The stitch together from Malifaux. Continuing on with something particularly special. Until next time, I am Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, signing out.